today, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to the President of Indonesian English Lecturers Association, Bapak Dr. Daniel Ginting, Excellency the Webinar Chairwoman of Indonesian English Lecturers Association, Ibu Husnul Khatimah Adnan MPD, the Excellency Speaker Bob Nguyen from California State University, Sacramento, United States of America, Excellency Speaker Ibu Dr. Hiqma Nur Agustina MSc M.Hum from Politeknik Negeri Malang, Excellency Speaker Ibu Gusti Ayu Maderai Suarniti SSM Hum from Warmadewa University, Bali, and the Excellency distinguished guest delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start our webinar, let's sing the Indonesian anthem Indonesia Raya. All the participants are welcome to stand.
Ella masih mute.
Okay. Without further ado, we would like to invite Ibu Dr. Husnul Khatimah Adnan to deliver her welcoming speech as the Chief Webinar of Indonesian English Lecturers Association. Ibu Husnul, the floor is yours.
Everyone, can you hear me?
Very well, Ibu.
Thank you, Mrs. Ella, for
clear.
the opportunity. My Honorable Mr. Daniel Ginting as the President of IELA, my Honorable Mr. Fahmi as the Vice President of IELA, my Honorable the speakers of today's seminar, Mr. Bob Nguyen, Mrs. Hiqma Nur Agustina, and Ms. Gusti Suarniti, and who has given us time and knowledge sharing for really today. And my honorable and respect to all of the committee who have worked hard in preparing this seminar. My honorable and warm welcome to all of the participants who come from around the world today. Ladies and gentlemen, this seminar is a result of voluntary work that the presenter, the committee, and the moderator, and everyone who involved in preparing this seminar are doing their voluntary work so that the participants today can join this seminar for free. And actually, we had prepared this seminar no more than 1 month, as IELA just inaugurated on January 1st. So this is our first, uh, how we say, monthly scientific discussion forum. So this is actually part of a research division program. So besides the chairman of the committee today, on behalf of the ELA board member, I'm responsible as the coordinator of research division. So in research division, we have this monthly discussion forum where every ELA member are, are able to present as the presenter, to present, to share the knowledge to everyone for free. So we will hold later on in every month during this year, this type of international seminar. So here I would like to say to, how to say, to share to all of the participants who want to join in ELA member. One of the real benefits you can get here as a lecturer is you will be able to be the presenter in international seminar for free. So this is one of the prestige to be the ELA member. Besides, you also have the connection to work together to coordinate with all of the English lecturer from around Indonesia. Like actually, today's seminar has been prepared by all of the English lecturer from around Indonesia. I'm the English lecturer at IEN Langsa, Aceh, and some of my friends from committee are from Bali or from Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and most are also from Java. So here we are joined from multicultural with one vision to enrich ELT in Indonesia. So I will be so much happy to hear from all of the participants who want to join us, especially in the research division. Besides this monthly forum, we also have a coaching later on, coaching for journal writing from senior to junior. So we are here having so many senior journal writers here. So as a junior, we will have like a coaching for peer coaching from them. So I would like to, yeah, to invite all of the participants to come join us here. I think just that from me. Thank you very much for everyone who have worked hard to prepare this seminar, especially for the guest speakers who had giving their time and knowledge to share with all of us voluntarily. I really appreciate and gratitude. Thank you so much. Okay, Miss Ella, I think I'm done. Miss Ella, you still mute?
Thank you, Ibu, for the welcoming speech. Now it is my deep pleasure to introduce the Vice President of Indonesian English Lecturer Association, the Excellencies Bapak Dr. Fahmi, to deliver his speech. And afterward, we would like Pak Fahmi to officially open the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Vice President of IELA, Pak Fahmi. Floor is yours, Bapak.
Okay, good morning, the IELA members and all participants of the second IELA International Webinar. And good morning to our distinguished speakers, Bob Nguyen from California State University, and Dr. Hiqma Nur Agustina, SSMSE MHUM from Politeknik Negeri Malang, and Gusti Ayumadewa Suarniti, SSM Hum from Warmadewa University, Bali. On behalf of the President of IELA, Associate Professor Dr. Daniel Ginting, we would like to express our gratitude to IELA board members who have enthusiastically hold and manage this international event. And thank you for the technical support and your great work performance. And actually, I'm so impressed with the number and the enthusiasm of the participants who joined this international webinar. And it really made me happy to see many lecturers, teachers, and master students gather here to share their opinion, experience, and knowledge. And I hope this event can be a great moment to meet and greet among the academicians from various backgrounds. And this event actually is aimed to accommodate all Indonesian English lecturers, and not to mention the teachers or another educators, to have a collaborative academic activities, of course, in the 21st century. So this event is not only a platform to gain the knowledge, but also to empower our knowledge as in three dharma, teaching, research, and community service. And that's why our main topic in this international webinar is empowering 21st century teachers through a collaborative academic forum. And for those who never heard about IELA, maybe you have some questions in your mind related to this association. This association is actually or intended to accommodate all Indonesian English lecturers, and of course, not to mention the teachers or the educators around the Indonesia. And IELA stands for Indonesian's English Lecturer Associations, and it was integrated on in January 1st, 2020 and 21. And the IELA, this association is a non-profit association. Lecturers gather, share, and collaborate through some academic programs and activities. And there are three main IELA programs. The first is teaching, and the second is research, and the third is community service. It means that all of the IELA's activities is related to the three dharma perguruan tinggi in Indonesia. And national and international webinar, research paper analysis, group sharing, training, learning, reviewing, and gathering. And in this great moment, an opportunity, I would like to welcome the IELA members and all participants to the second IELA International Webinar. Welcome to the second IELA International Webinar for the all participants and the members. Thank you.
Bu Ella, I'm sorry, masih unmute di.
Okay, thank you, Bapak, for your speech. Excellencies, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On this occasion, we shall have outstanding presentations from our prominent presenters, who I believe shall enrich our insight and knowledge regarding to the theme of this seminar. For your information, this webinar will be held live in our YouTube channel. So for those of you who have questions later on, please write them in the chat column. So we will collect your questions, and at the end of the presentation, we will distribute your questions to the speakers. Don't forget, please mention your name and state to which presenters you address your questions. And those for you who just joining us, please welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be 3 moderators who will attend with our 3 presenters, And without further ado, I will hand over the event to our first moderator, Bapak Beni Hamdani. Please, Bapak.
Okay.
Bapak Beni, are you there?
I see. Hello.
Oh, please, Bapak. There you go.
Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Hello.
Halo, Bapak.
Okay.
Morning.
Okay, please.
Especially for Bob Nguyen, Sir Bob Nguyen, innovative English language instructor with international teaching experience in diverse culture. On behalf of IELA committee, we would like to welcome you as the first speaker today, and you would like to tell about the empowering virtual meetings via communication. It's time for you to give your presentation, Mr. Bob Nguyen.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? That's how we start off these online meetings now. Yes, it is still Wednesday for me here in Southern California. Yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and write them in the chat box. But yes, my name is Bob Nguyen, and we're starting early, so I'm gonna maybe steal some more of your time because 30 minutes is never enough. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And if you have any questions or maybe you need to understand something a little bit better, please use the chat box. And Benny and anybody else, if you can help me with the chat box, because my chat box usually disappears when I'm sharing my screen. So let's try this. Okay. Optimize. All right, here we go. So you don't want to look at that. Whoops, you don't want to look at that either. I'm going to do a quick presentation real quick. Can you see everything that's going on? What's going on? All right, here we go. So today we're talking about online community building activities in the virtual classroom. My name is Bob Nguyen, and I am an English language fellow. Before I was in Turkey, and because of COVID, I've moved back to California in the United States. But what is community, and how can we form it in an online space? That's something I think everybody for the last year almost has been trying to figure out, especially when you're teaching to a new class, if you're working with new colleagues. I think these are things that are all very difficult for us to figure out. And so something that I've been working on is how do I get to know my students better? Yeah, that's who I am. So I've been teaching first year English language teaching students at Warmadewa University. We are online. I have never met my students before, and they have never met me, and they have never met some of their other fellow colleagues and students. And so I've been trying to figure out ways to help students get to know each other, because I think more important than me getting to know them, I think students work and collaborate better when they know each other. And it's something that's really difficult for most of us to do, especially with the boundaries of the difficulties of using technology, the boundaries of maybe not knowing who their friends and classmates are. And so something, like I think that's really important is how do people get to know each other? I'm going to do a quick presentation about myself. I wasn't going to actually do this, but because we started early, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And can everybody hear me? I'm in that space where I can't hear anybody. Are we still? We're on, right? Yes,
on.
there we go. Yeah, I don't know. I just, yeah. When I'm not the host, I don't get to see all these other things. All right. So this is called A Picture is Worth 1,000 Words. And I'm not going to say anything. I'm actually going to mute my mic. And usually after this activity, I ask people to tell me what happens, but we're not going to do that today. And I want you all to think about ways that maybe as teachers, you speak less when you're explaining things and maybe using images. And I think teaching online forces you to do these things. And so I'm going to go quickly through these pictures, and they're pictures from my life. There's a lot of pictures, but you'll understand the story. So yeah, look at the pictures from my life and then think of the story and the values behind the images. All right. So if anybody if nobody has questions, I'm going to get started on this, and I'm going to mute my own mic. So that was my introduction. And so what we usually do, there's only pictures, right? So uh, I think sometimes using just pictures to tell a story is really important. And this is, if we were not in this room and if we had breakout rooms, I would make you all go into breakout rooms with a partner right now. And then you would share a picture from your phone, from your computer, maybe just put up a picture, and then you would share that with the group. And for me, sometimes teachers just don't need to talk as much as they do. And I tend to do a lot of talking in the classroom. So think about that as a way when you're teaching, especially online, how you can show your students the meaning, how to show activities, and explain things using images more than just talking. Because I think, sometimes our mics don't work as well as as the cameras do. But right now, I would probably ask people to tell me what something that they saw from the picture. So if somebody wants to volunteer, go ahead, turn on your mic, and tell me one thing that you saw from that presentation that I did. Anybody, one of our moderators as well. Make it easy for all of us. Ella, go ahead. What's something that you saw from that, from my
Well,
experiences?
well, Bob, we have muted all the voices from the
Okay,
participants, so
so you'll be
they are
my
able to
student today.
write.
So what's one thing that you saw from that presentation about myself? Ella, you have to answer. Or Fami, anybody? Oh, nobody can talk. Okay. Let's get back to it. So yeah, normally this activity would be that you would now tell me about my life. And then we would go into a breakout room and you would share with a partner and share a picture from your day, from your week, from your year. And then you wouldn't tell your story. Your partner would tell you, this is a picture of you doing this. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to my presentation. Do the good old screen sharing. Let me figure all this out. Okay. So we're back. I hear birds. We're gonna do a poll real quick. I gotta put this on the chat box. But do you use a classroom management system or a learning management system? Something in your classroom that you
Yes.
use to organize information. Uh, let's do this. I'm gonna make you click on this link. Where's my chat box? There's. Can I share a chat link? Let's see.
Sure, you can.
To all panelists and attendees. Okay. So I'm going to send you
Sure.
a link to a Google Forms. It's just one question. So just go ahead, go in there. Go ahead and do that. And we're going to pull up my other screen that we're going to share. Just one question. Nice and easy. I already got 5 responses. Good. Keep going. See how many people we can get. So yeah, a lot of times in the classroom, you're using Zoom, but you're also opening up other apps. If you're on your phone, you can still do this and you can still hear everything that's going on. So I
Just one
always think
click,
that's
yeah?
really nice. Just, yeah, one click. So we got 32 responses and you can see my screen right now. Google Forms, sometimes I just use it for surveys, but the thing I like about Google Forms is it also shows me this view so we can see we have 49 responses and we can see this live going. So if everybody responds, we're not going to wait for everybody, but so for the most part, people are using Google Classroom. Wow. And you can see all the responses. You can save this. You can see it as a spreadsheet. Spada. What is Spada? Microsoft Teams. Yes, I forgot about that one. School provided. I don't use one. Who's okay. So good. Not many people don't use it, and that's a great thing that I'm seeing right now, especially with online classes. I think having a learning management system is very important. LMS, I don't, yeah, let's see, Moodle, a lot of people using Moodle. Canvas, Canvas with 3%. Okay, so I can see that a lot of people use Google Classrooms. It's something that I used to use quite often in my previous classes. And I've moved away from it. So let's go talk about other things. All right. So that was the poll. And I always put this QR code and I forget that, I need to keep it up. But if there's any links, I usually have a QR code. So if you're multitasking, using your computer, using your phone, you can usually just put your camera straight up to this poll or to the QR code and get that link. Let me just see that one more time. Nothing's really changed. Let's see. Edmodo, good. There's 6. School provided. We have a school provided one. We had one last year at the university in Turkey. And this year they switched over to Google Teams. Or sorry, Microsoft Teams. But yeah, there's a lot of different things here. Zoom being one of them, EdLinks. quizzes. Okay, so a combination of things. So the other selection is nice because you get to write in your choices. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of people are on Google Classroom, which I think is actually a really good LMS for students because it's so easy for students to sign up because most of them have Gmail accounts. Um, I just don't find it as powerful for teachers. So let's go. That was that. We looked at the poll results. And yeah, the main thing I'm going to talk about today is the importance of community building. It's something for teachers with other teachers, professional learning networks. Um, but yeah, for teachers, I think it's really important to understand your students' learning styles, strengths and weaknesses. And I always think about this now in this online world is that I think about my students as either introverts or extroverts, and our extroverted students did really well in the face-to-face classroom. And you would notice your introverted students kind of slink back in their seats. And now I find that the world is kind of flipped around, and our introverted students tend to do much better online. And so getting to know who they are, I think really helps figure out, what their needs are. Because I think that our students that are extroverts don't do as well online. Students also need to get to know each other, right? And that's something I think that's lacking in the online education, especially when you're not creating activities that one allows students to just get to know each other, to share about their personal lives, to share about their personal interest while using language skills. Yeah, so all of these activities, they should be designed around all of the four skills, speaking, listening, writing, reading each other's posts. So yeah, the thing that I found that works really well online is using discussion boards and forums. And so if you're on Moodle, if you're using Canvas, and if you've created in Microsoft Teams different forums that they can speak in, uh, allowing students to post even to a blog, if you have a blog that students are using, allows students to kind of share their thoughts, share them about themselves, and then they're able to read about each other's and then reply. And I think creating an online community in that way can help students. Um, right. And so these discussion boards, you can use words. You can have students post audio. You can have them do videos. And this can help students develop language skills as they're getting to know each other. And you can use this as a way to assess your students, and students get to learn about each other. Okay, they should be required to respond to each other, and that kind of forces them to actually read, listen to each other, and then to respond. And this is what creates this dialogue, this conversation in class. And so, yeah, for a lot of my assignments, I actually ask my students to respond to other classmates' responses, usually with just positive comments, nothing negative, please. So I use Canvas, and there's a free for teachers Canvas account. And Canvas, if you've used Moodle or anything like that, can be a little bit intimidating, but there's a lot of materials online to figure out how to do this. And I'm just going to go over and show you some things, but here's a website link that I'll share afterwards. You can look this up, and you can make a free account. The one thing is that students do have to register for Canvas in order to use it. And so, if your students are comfortable with that, that's fine. You're going to have to do a lot of kind of teaching them how to do this, but there's a lot of materials and videos and information to help you. I'm going to just show you my Canvas that I've used for these last 3 classes. So we're going to look at some of the content, some of the materials and activities that I've done in my class. We're going to go back. Let's see. So here we go. All right, so this is Canvas. Let me just make this bigger so you can see. So the first thing I'd like to do when I start any class is to do a survey to ask students lots of questions about themselves. And this is something that I think is really important as a way for teachers first to kind of have their students' needs assessment analysis, right? So using Google Forms, you can get all this information about students' names, gender, email addresses that they use so that you can communicate with them in other ways. I don't know if this is the same all over the world, but ELT tends to be predominantly female. So 68% of my students in my listening and speaking classes. I asked for birthdays, and then I asked them questions about, where they're from, their hobbies, their activities they like to do, to describe their family, which I find is actually a really important question right now. And then to ask them about online education. So asking them about their technology, what they have available, how many siblings that they have that are also using the internet at the same time to do online education. And I think once we realize that, we can kind of figure out what our students' needs are, not just their own personal skills, but the issues that they have at home and things like that. And another thing that we did for this class, because my students are kind of all over Turkey, I created this Google Maps, and you can have students with the link be able to join and then add a little dot where they live. So by looking at this, I can see where my participants are. I use this also for an international online teacher forum so that we could see where everybody was. And I'm not going to click on the links, but the students also posted a picture of themselves. And the ones that didn't want to post a picture, that was fine. They posted like an image from their city. Something that I thought was really cool, if you're going to create a forum, and in the beginning when students are introducing themselves, I think it's really important to ask students to kind of share their workspace. And so I asked them to share where, so this is my, I have a lot of stuff. Okay. But I asked them to share their desk space and then to comment on each other's workspace. And, students decorated their desk. They had books in their, they had books. And so students would ask each other about, what they're reading. If students were into video games or other things, let me find one that's kind of like a computer setup. So students would ask each other, do you play video games? And there was a dialogue and a conversation that got started just kind of based on their desk. The student likes to read. He might have a gaming computer. So other students replied, asked different questions, commented on how cool his keyboard was. And a thing that actually was really important was I learned which students were going to do well in my class kind of based on their technology that they had. So if a student maybe just posted a picture of a desk in the middle of a kitchen, then I kind of, it was easier for me to figure out if this student was going to have some issues with technology. Another thing we did was the student respect wall, which I guess I'm not respecting my students at the moment, but I asked students to not post pictures of each other outside of the classroom. So nobody was allowed to steal images or videos and post them to social media. And it was something that I felt was really important because privacy is really important to our students, especially I think with social media and things like that, like other students posting things can prevent students from really joining into the classroom setting. So this was a cool thing, and we're going to kind of practice this later with Padlet. And Padlet's cool. It lets you save PDFs. So you don't have to have like a huge Padlet. You can save a PDF of it. Yeah, and students were able to kind of share what their idea of respect was and then agree to, let's see, what was my policy? My privacy agreement was I will protect the privacy of my classmates by not posting images, recordings, or audios from class. I will not post images, recordings, fellow students' words, or audios from any class on my social media. I understand the consequence of breaking this agreement is an FF in this class. Please agree by writing your name, and I agree. Okay. And so, yeah, students got to kind of share what they felt was like was what respect was to them. And a lot of them just mentioned to be listened to and to listen to others with respect. All right. Something else that we did, I'm not going to show these videos, is that they shared their hobbies. And this is in my speaking class. And so, you know, one, I wanted to understand my students' levels when they're speaking. But the other thing was I wanted students to get to know each other. And so they shared different hobbies that they had. I did the first one. I talked about boxing. That's one of my hobbies. And other students, they shared about their different hobbies like drama and music and playing guitar. And so, yeah, there was like a dialogue that started from that, which I found was really special. And I still get to know, you know, I know my students much better because I got to listen to them. Something we did for New Year's was I had them share like a New Year's message to their classmates, wishing them a happy New Year's, maybe giving a New Year's resolution. And so all the students posted and they could listen to each other, like each other's messages, respond if they wanted to. In the writing class, we did like some poetry. This is called blackout poetry. And I can share this link with you if you want later. But students looked at a text and then they were able to choose the words that they wanted. And then by doing that, once you press the render button, it would black out everything else. So some of this text is from Alice in Wonderland. And so students kind of got to be creative and share their creativity in the classroom using this website called Blackout on glitch.me. Let's see, another one. In group work. So Canvas allows you to do group work. And in this one, I allowed them to kind of brainstorm ideas for their essay. So as students in the different groups, they posted and asked each other questions about topics, about thesis statements, and things like that. Another class, students just shared their favorite song. It was something we talked about in pronunciation and speaking class and kind of using more connected speech. And so students shared their favorite songs that they loved to sing to or had good English words and things like that. In the writing class, students write journals and they post them. And these are mainly to me, but you can also have kind of like a blog post where students share a story, maybe something about a challenge that they experienced or their happiest moment. And you can have it as a blog post where all the students post and then they get to know each other and they get to practice their writing skills. And this is one example. I'm not going to share that anymore. All right. So that's the canvas that I've used, I put together. You don't have to only use Canvas. There's other tools to do this. I'm going to get back to my PowerPoint right here. Yeah, so there's other options that you can use for forums. Flipgrid is one of those if you want to just do videos in a speaking class. And maybe not just speaking class, but you know, having students respond to each other's writings, and you can reply using Flipgrid. The thing I like about Canvas and keeping it in the discussion is I think a lot of students, I think, look at Flipgrid kind of as a public social media kind of feeling thing. And so maybe privacy might be a concern for some of these students. Creating a blog, Google Sites is something that's free that students can create on their own with teacher guidance. And Padlet. And so I think Padlet's probably one of my favorite new technologies that I've been using in the classroom. We're going to use Padlet right now. And I want you guys to either record a video or an audio And if you don't want to do that, you can write something about yourself. But I'm going to just share this Padlet with everybody real quick. And then I'm gonna share that. And right now, I am going to share. I'm going to show you how to do this. All right, where's my Padlet? Okay, so here's the Padlet. This is what the wall looks like, just a normal wall. Once you get that link and you go to the link, you can click on this. The title should be your name, okay? And either you can, this is the picture image, but you can also record a video or your screen, okay? Or you could do a voice. So let's see, I want to record a film from my camera. I hope this doesn't explode. But you're gonna just introduce yourself to the group, and if you don't feel comfortable with the video, just record an audio. If you don't feel comfortable with an audio, go ahead and type. Just introduce yourself, and I can share this with the group, so you guys can all kind of get to know each other better in the IELA group. So here we go.
Yeah.
Hi,
Okay,
my
ladies
name
and
is Bob
gentlemen.
Wynn. Oh, hi. Hi, I'm Bob Wynn. Nice to meet you. I'm from California, and I am teaching right now. All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we need you to click on the link given by Bob Nguyen, and you can introduce yourself and tag it to the Padlet.
There we go.
Let's have fun with Padlet, okay?
Video. Come on. I'm going to cancel that. So we got people, they're saying hi, and I think maybe in a different setting, people would be making videos, audios. But yeah, this would be, you can create different assignments, asking students to maybe share something specific, like a hobby or something they like to do, where they're from. If you want to record an audio, that'd be wonderful. Maybe right now the constraints of everything might be difficult, but you can see this Padlet is filling up with all of our guests from different parts of Indonesia. Good. And yeah, in the classroom, you can make an assignment where students maybe have to record a video or an audio and talk about their favorite TV shows or anything that's kind of related to the topics and the subjects that you're teaching about. All right. So great. Good to know you guys. You can have students share pictures of things in their life, about their hobbies, things like that. And I think that's it. All right. So the benefits, teachers can create activities for students to practice their skills. Teachers can get to know their students, their strengths, their weaknesses, learning styles. But I think the better thing is that our students get to know each other and they get to learn with each other and build trust and build community. And so that when we do come back to the face-to-face classroom, these first year students of mine, I hopefully will know each other a lot better. All right. So I am finished. That's my 29 minutes. I stuck to the schedule. Cool. Please write down your questions or comments for the Q&A section. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Bob,
You're welcome.
for the great presentation. Well, we can see that online community building can help students and teachers to facilitate the learning process, in this pandemic. And I think we as teachers must also be able to adjust the platform according to the students' abilities, in terms of technology and how to absorb the knowledge. I myself also use several platforms in teaching, John, like Padlet, Moodle, Readworks, and some others, but for sure must be able to build a good communication. Yeah. Canvas is new to me and I will try it again. Thanks, Bob. Thank you for your great presentations. And actually we have a lot of questions here, but we're going to distribute it to you later and you can answer at the end of presentation, all presentations. Now we come to the second session with me, Ella, as the moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, our second presenters is Dr. Hiqma Nur Agustina, MSc Hum from Politeknik Negeri Malang. She's going to talk about women's voices in literary work. Before that, I would like to give you guys CVs about Ibu Hiqma. She is currently serving as the first Deputy Dean for Academic Research and Quality Assurance at UNIS Tangerang and the chair of the Faculty Senate at FKIP UNIS Tangerang. And what I have read, Ibu Hiqma has many achievements in the field of education. Well, at least there are at least 6 journals where she is one of the reviewers, including the Journal of Language and Literature from Sanata Dharma, and also the chief editor of the Journal of Language and Intercultural Communication, or GLIC, State Politeknik of Malang. And Ibu Hiqma, I can say that she is very professional in teaching since she has taught since 1996 until now, and as a D4 English lecturer for business and professional communication, Malang State Politeknik. And also, there are at least 30 scientific papers written by Ibu Hiqma that have been presented in seminars, conferences, symposiums, international congress, as oral presenters, keynote speaker, invited speaker. Well, very awesome. There are 45 pages, and I don't think I have enough time to read them for you, but she's good. So without any further ado, I would like to invite Ibu Hiqma Nur Agustina. The floor is yours, Ibu.
Thank you so much, Bu Ella. Okay. First of all, I would like to say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you all in the second webinar of IELA. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much for the chairman of IELA or the committee, and also to the excellency speakers, Bob Nguyen and Ibu Gusti Made Rai. And also I would like to welcome to the enthusiast participants from many areas in Indonesia and perhaps from other countries too. It is my honor today to share and also present about my research, which is most discussed about women. I prefer to say as the sharing session to teach or lecture, since I know that most of the participants are lecturers, researchers, teachers, and also, of course, the brilliant student. Welcome and thank you for joining the second webinar this morning. From the first, we have known from Bob. He has talked about the virtual classroom and also the activity as the teachers and lecturers did for almost 11 months. We got it because of the COVID pandemic, and now we are still doing with the virtual classroom. Now I'm going to bring you to travel in the different perspective, because actually I'm going to talk about literatures and women. Okay, especially about the women voices in literary works. I'm Hiqma Nur Agustina. I am an assistant professor at Politeknik Negeri Malang. So this is my home base at the moment. I would like to say that literature drives my passion to conduct some research since 2010. So I'm going to start to share my screen. Okay, can anybody see my screen at the moment?
Yes.
Very clear.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
It's good.
Okay, thank you very much. As I said in the beginning, so I do believe that most of us as the teachers and also lecturers, and at the previous moment we just become the student, we like to read a lot. We like to got some knowledge and also many different perspectives from books. That's why we need to read more and more. Okay, I'm going to start with the literature in order to remind you all that what is literature here. As we know that literature is a body of a written works, so we can gain many knowledges after we read books. The name of literature has traditionally been applied to those imaginative works of poetry and prose, distinguished by the intention of their authors and the purposive aesthetic excellence of their execution. Literature may be classified according to a variety of systems, including language, national origin, historical period, genre, and subject matter. For the historical treatment of various literature within the geographical region, we can see some article, for example, from the African literature, African theater, oceanic literature, and many others. We can also know that some literature are treated separately by the language. That's why we can see there will be also Indonesian literature, Latin literature, French literature, and many others too. The definition of the word literature tend to be secular. So I'm going to try to take it from the 11th edition of the Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary, that is considered literature to be the writings having excellent of form or the expression and expressing ideas of permanent or universal interest. But already it is necessary to qualify the statement that the use of the word writing here, it could be described that the literature itself misleading. For one may speak of oral literature or the literature of the pre-literate people. The art of the literature is not reducible to the words on the page, but they are solely because of the craft of writing. As an art, literature might be described as the organization of work to give pleasure. That's why when you finish completely reading, sometimes we are feeling happy. We already got the knowledge, we have the new perspective that we never get before. Especially for today, for the next slide, I'm going to share the power of literary works. So there are four aspects that we can get through literary works. The first one is about teaching. So literature teaches. Stories teach us many things. At the most basic level, they teach us new words and ways to use them. They help us to understand how language works. They reinforce the learning of decoding skills and so on. Some might say, but Sesame Street does this too, but literature offers 7 more sophisticated lessons. For the second point, literature enriches. The book taught me new things about language and new things about the sea, for example. It also introduced me to science fiction, which was a genre I did not experience before, and it introduced me the literary themes that quite varied. For example, for the children, sometimes as the sophisticated of technology, so the children today or nowadays prefer to use game from their gadget. That's why we need to bring the back to read books, because actually books offer children opportunities to consider often for the first time major issues such as life and death, pain and suffering, and also fear and frustration. They can learn from books. From the third step, actually literature transform. As I grew up, I realized that I was very addicted to reading books. I was able to finish a thick book overnight when I was in elementary school. As I got older, I could read more types of books in a short time. I can't live without books. Books are really able to hypnotize me in such a way. I then realized that literature had transformed the whole of my life, from those who don't know to know, from those who know a little to a lot, and literature has transformed my personality and also other people's personality in good ways. And for the last one is about literature inspire. According to me, the most important piece of literature is how to inspire someone to change from negative to positive. Many people feel that their lives have been inspired by other people's stories written into a book. Starting from books in the genre of fiction, non-fiction, religious book, biography, and others. And starting from those written in short story, just like novels, poetry, dramas, literature is able to change a pessimistic people into the optimistic one, from hopeless to hopeful, from careless to careful, not enthusiastic to become enthusiastic, and other positive things. Okay, this is one of the part that we are going to talk about some interesting things when discussed about literary works. There are quite many, but actually for this time, I only try to deliver us about the four uh, crucial things when we are talking about literary works. The first one, the topic might be related with the gender and sexuality. This topic often reveals the literature reflects, influences, creates, and reveals cultural beliefs about gender and sexuality. We can read and learn a wide range of novels, poems, and plays from a diversity of eras and national traditions. We can also study essay in feminism, queer studies, and the history of sexuality, from the early thinkers to today's cutting-edge theories. Throughout the course, we will explore the ways in which gender intersects with other crucial cultural issues such as races, nationhood, globalization, and classes. And for the second part is about heroes, heroines, protagonists, and antagonists. So more often when we are reading about the books, especially novels, short story, we are going to see that the author will going to explore about protagonists and antagonists. So this topic is closely related to the characters and characterization that are featured in a story by the author. The tough characterization are often to be able to hypnotize a story and turn the story into a best-selling novel. So that's why that when we are going to the bookstore, we are going to find out what is the bookseller novels prepared or sold in the bookstore. It is because of the media's role sometimes. Several films adapted from a novel are also based on a very strong characterization so that they can inspire readers to make many changes in their life. And the last part from the topics of the literary works is about identity. I would like to highlight that the identity here refers to the collective aspect of the set of characteristics by which a thing is definitely recognizable or known. Or in other words, I would like to say that what makes a person unique or distinctive, it is because of the identity. The identity itself is a thing can be a somewhat problematic concept. However, because the author and the poets often construct complex and unfathomable characters. Writers here often construct characters who perform a false identity, the villains such as Shakespeare's Iago, for instance. A person's identity can be determined by their self-conception as well as their social presentation. how they behave within civilization. In the past 11 years, I have done a lot of research of novels by the authors of the Afghan diaspora. So there are several names that are very well known and have published a number of best-selling novels. So one of my favorite author is Khaled Hosseini. He is an Afghan diaspora and also a doctor who now lives in California. His phenomenal theme in his first novel, The Kite Runner, was later adopted and made him appointed as a UN refugee ambassador, UNHCR. There is also a work by young women writer using the pseudonym name Latifa, which became the corpus of my research. And also there is a Canadian woman who wrote a trilogy on the theme of Afghan children and women with the title Parvana's Trilogy. Several other novels that I made starting from 2015 and till 2019 most discuss about Middle East authors, Middle East novel. So you can see that there is the notes from Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, because actually the topics of the literary works is really interesting. My interest in researching novels written by Middle East diaspora writers have led me to an understanding of women voices, both written by men and women writers themselves, or even by the women writers who are not from one of the Middle East countries, but they have had experiences living in Middle East countries. So based on their observation, experience, the investment made by them can also speak out on behalf of women. According to my research, so these voices then echoed throughout the world. A number of these writings are right on a target because through literary work, everyone's concerned for the fate of a number of women who are repressed, experience violence and discrimination, sexual harassment, injustice in the name of patriarchal culture, religious proposition, and the hegemony of voice. So I would like to say that the tough characters and characterization could echo the message conveyed by the authors. On my academic traveling, for being the international presenter in some international conferences, the topic of my papers often attracts the other scholars to know more and more about the novels. The issue of human rights is really close with the humanity. This becomes terrific to discuss. For example, when I did my research about this novel, with the title My Forbidden Face, written by Latifa. Actually, Latifa is a French Afghan diaspora girl who used the pseudonym becomes the main character and narrator in the story. She was in her teens when she witnessed many injustice and enacted rules that repressed Afghan women once the Taliban took over. The rights of many women have been eliminated, such as the prohibition on going to school and work. Women must be accompanied by a mahram when going outside the house. And there is so much repression and discrimination experienced by Afghan women that it causes them great suffering. Before the Taliban take over, Latifa's life revolved around school, friends, parties, and movies. Suddenly, she was confined to her apartment, unable to venture out uncovered by the heated burqa. She and her family were spared the horrific fate of some of Kabul residents, but in the end, lost nearly everything but their life. Latifa and her friends later founded an underground school to keep herself alive and excited about living a life under threat. Furthermore, As the peak of her struggle, she voiced all the repression experienced by the women consists of limiting women's movement, loss of career rights, and limiting access to women education. For doing this research, actually, I use qualitative descriptive methods and library research to study novels that echo women's enthusiasm and regain their rights and independence in education, work, and also their normal life. For the second novel, as a part of my next research, is about A Thousand Splendid Suns. It is written by Khaled Hosseini, the Afghan American diaspora. Actually, this novel is very interesting because it addresses the various kinds of injustice and repression experienced by the women characters. So the repression which is voiced in the text consists of reduced women body as a regeneration tool, a woman as a man's object, and a legal alignment with the man. To do the research about this novel, actually I apply narratology theory and focalization concept, social class, repression, resistance, gender relation, Islam feminist, and post-colonial. As the third novel, it is based on the interview and the observation. For the author, she has lived 3 years in Kabul, London, and Washington, D.C. So it is based on the true story. This research revealed the struggle, the strong will of the women who live among the terror, the powerful regime, and disordered country that is Afghanistan. Many people have known that Afghanistan is under the repression, unpredictable situation in many years, and perhaps still now. And the sufferings often experienced, especially by the women. The chaos inspired a young woman here as the main character in the novel, who becomes the leader for the other women to survive, reflected in the main character in the novel. So how she tried to embody and stay in unstable condition attract me to pull all her effort in this writing. I want to show how one strong woman has a great effort to keep fighting among the repression, dominance, and war and become the inspiration for others. This is the women voice. Actually, this novel tells about the story and supported by Four Sister and a Great Family, written by Gail Zemak Lemon. Actually, Lemon is a journalist and a senior fellow at the Council of Foreign Relations. One more is supposed to be the interesting part of the story is because Lemon actually is not the native from Afghanistan, but actually based on her observation and also the interview and experience. When she lived in Afghanistan, she tried to write the narration in this story. As the last one of my research about Middle East novels, so it is about Parpana's trilogy by Deborah Ellis. Afghan women and girls became the portrait of the victim of violence since several years ago. And I do believe many people understood about these facts. The news about the tragedy spread through the newspaper, printed and online, and also in the literature world. The exposure of their sufferings as the impact of war and conflict among the ethnics of Taliban regime reflected in these three novels. The first one is The Breadwinner, published in 2000, and the second one is Parvana's Journey in 2002, and the last one is Mud City in 2003. The women voice present in the trilogy novel is related to the violence and effects caused by the endless conflicts and wars in Afghanistan. Living in a country that continues to be plagued by conflict and war makes women and children the most victims. Moreover, many prohibitions and rules are applied so that they are often taken prisoner and imprisoned without being able to perform their daily activities normally. So I can see that the blurry portraits of Afghan women and children are often displayed in conditions exposed to the violence due to the prolonged of war, ethnic conflicts, and the Taliban regime's rule. The next one, I would like to explore about the voice of women in the literary works. In 2010, when the first time I read a novel written by Khaled Hosseini, until today I have completed reading this novel 4 times that present an extraordinary atmosphere of humanism, a novel that is able to bring sadness and happiness in the same time, care and love to the land of the bird. This first novel is entitled The Kite Runner. Furthermore, starting from this first novel, I then hunted for several novels written by the Afghan diaspora writers or those with the themes very close to Afghanistan. I have produced and published several studies on stories of upheaval, women's struggles, independence, and human rights. But from all that, I feel that there is always a magnet to research and study of Afghan literary works. As the closing of my presentation, so I'm going to say that the voice of women in literary works presents several points that I want to highlight. For the first one is the stories or novels written by women writers from Middle East have the power to speak out about various kinds of oppression and violence. And for the second one, the story is able to show a passion for struggle and inspire other women around the world to care. And the next one, the story is also able to identify or define the identities that each author wants to display. Identity is the crucial thing and it often being the main theme in the story. And the next one is the ending stories about women voices are sometimes unpredictable. It drives and arouses our attention starting from the beginning until the end. Just keep reading and learning many good things inside it. Then you may continue to write your own article. And the next is women voices often lead to debate in the public. This debate that there is showing concern, attention, and most importantly, action from the readers around the world. And also the reader from Indonesia, I guess. The awareness is the main concern of the women's struggle to get their freedom and rights. And the next one is proposing answer will be the last part that I would like to highlight is the most crucial thing and the most expected effect of a text and novel. So it is not uncommon for readers to be moved and then take action to move. As the closing statement of my presentation, so I want to read the statement from United Nations. Women's rights are human rights. So let's support the women's struggle to have their rights, freedom, and dreams, because every woman has their rights to determine what they want to be. So you may search my articles in my academic platforms such as Google Scholar, ResearchGate, Academia Edu, and other, and hopefully we can meet in other webinars. Thank you and good morning. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm going to give it back to the moderator.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ibu Hiqma. What a very great presentations. We can see how the women in the Middle East struggle, like in the novel you stated before, really motivates us as a woman, yeah. And I think, yes, books are very less used now by the children because they are familiar with gadget, yeah, ma'am. But we can bring back the hobby of reading, as you said earlier, by using technology, maybe like Kindle, maybe. Yeah. So hopefully the books or novels like you have presented could be read in the Kindle as well. Yeah. Okay.
Do they
Ibu.
hope so?
Yeah. So the children here are motivated to read, not opening the book, but with the technology as well. Thank you, Ibu. The questions will be given to you later, will be distributed to you later at the end of the presentations. Now we are coming to the third presenter. I will hand over the event to our last moderator for the third presenter, Ibu Sylvia Mustanuri Jannah. Floor is yours, Ibu.
Okay, thank you very much, Bu Ella, and hello everyone. So we have known about the presentation from Bob Nguyen and then Dr. Hiqma, Bob Nguyen about the virtual classroom. It's very interesting. And then it's followed by Ibu Hiqma Nur Agustina, SSM Home, that present about women's voice in literary work. And then it's time for Mrs. Gusti Ayu Maderai Suarniti, SSM Home, who will present about analyzing fiction through its element. So, but before Ibu Ayu Gusti present about her presentation, I would like to know you closer about her, so that Ibu Gusti Ayu Maderai Suarniti, yeah?
Suarniti, okay.
Yeah, Suarniti, okay, Suarniti.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. She is a talented lecturer. She is a lecturer in Warmadewa University in Bali, yeah?
Warmadewa University.
Okay, Warmadewa University in Bali.
Warmadewa.
Warmadewa, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And then she has received her bachelor degree and taken her master degree in Udayana University. Okay, so I think we cannot wait for her to present yet. So
okay.
Before Mrs. Ayu Rai Suarniti gives the presentation, I just try to remind you that there will be question and answer session at the end of this presentation, and it is followed by the conclusion by the moderator and master of ceremony. Now, yeah, so allow me to welcome Ibu Gusti Ayu Maderai Suarniti to deliver her presentation. So for Ibu Gusti Ayu Maderai Suarniti SSM Hum, time is yours.
Thank you very much, Ibu Sylvia. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, the head of IELA, Mr. Fahmi Ginting. Good afternoon, Bob Nguyen. Good afternoon, Dr. Hiqma, and all the participants and all the panelists here. Before, I would like to greet you with Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, and Om Swastiastu. Okay, just now we have two excellent speaker, Bob Nguyen, who inspire us how to teach in the class. For example, like teaching poetry, like me as a lecturer at Warmadewa University, usually teach using the film, because most of our students here in Bali like the film today, especially the American film, like Veronica Road's series of Divergent, So Virgin, Ale Giant, A4, and also they like the John Greens, like Peppertons, The Fault in Our Star, and also Veronica Road's Divergent, and the last is Jojo Moyes, my favorite novels, Me Before You. And then, and the next, the excellent speaker is Dr. Nur Hiqma. She presents about the woman voice. Here, Dr. Nur Hiqma explains about the extrinsic aspects of the literature, because in order to get the full meaning of the literatures, we cannot just see from the intrinsic aspect, but also combine with the extrinsic aspect, because the author has extrinsic side, like in society, like in psychology, and also like in physiology, histories, biography, and also autobiography. So my explanation here is on the intrinsic aspect. So here the presentation will be so complete from the way or the practice of teaching from Bob Nguyen, and then Dr. Nur Hiqma, the extrinsic side of literature, the woman voice, especially the literary work in the Middle East, like Afghanistan. And me here would like to explain about the intrinsic aspect or intrinsic elements of fiction, especially in the Western. Because here in Bali, contaminated by tourism, so we like to analyze, and most of the students here in Bali like to analyze the novel from the Western, especially from America. Okay, let's me start to share my screen first. Okay, first, here is the analyzing fiction through its element. Plot reveals in Moyo's Me Before You. This is a very simple examples. Okay, the first, we see the intrinsic elements of fiction can be divided into plot, character, setting, style, point of view, and theme. Plot. Plot is the order arrangement of those events according to their causal relationship. It is stated by William Kinney. Beside William Kinney, there are a lot of researchers. The second is Christopher Ruski, Gustav Fritek, Warren and Welleck, and etc. So I cannot mention one by one. Here, the structure of plot by William Kinney is very simple structure of plot here. William Kinney divided into three: beginning, middle, and also the ending. The beginning consists of the expositions, and then the middle consists of conflict, complication, and climax, and then the end consists of the denouements. And the second theory of plot proposed by Gustav Fritek. This is a very interesting theory, because Gustav Fritek, difference with William Kinney, he divides structure of plot from the unstable situation into the stable situation. The unstable situation is the beginning of the plot. Consists of exposition. Exposition is introducing of the character and setting, and then here continued by event, first event, second event, third event, fourth event, and finally the climax. And after that, the following action, and continue to the ends of the story. Okay, this is the explanations of the plots by Gustav Fritek. The first, the beginning is introduction of the characters and also the settings. That is the exposition. And the second ones continue to the events. But here in the William Kinney, continue with the conflicts. So here in Gustav Fritek continue with events. First event, second event, third event, fourth event. And after that, finally, both of William Kinney and Gustav Fritek have...
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Ini for the participant wants you to give it in slideshow, or
okay.
I will help you to share the screen, yeah?
Okay, it's okay. Thank you.
So,
Maybe it's too small, yeah, here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yes, I will stop stream.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Okay, wait a minute. No, this, wait a minute. Okay.
Okay, next. Okay, next. Okay, next. Okay, next. Okay. So here, okay, that's good. Okay, now we will continue to the events after the rising actions of the Fritek difference with William Kinney. William Kinney start with conflicts. And then the Gustav text start with events. The first event, the second event, the third event, and the fourth event. Finally, both of William Kinney and Gustav Friedrich came to the climax points, the highest point. After the highest point, we come to the following action, and after the following action, we come to the denouement or ending. Next. Okay, also next. Okay, next. Okay, the second intrinsic element of fiction is character. The character is the one who plays important role in the story. The character also, there are a lot of definition of the character here, but here I would like to state the definition of the character by William Kinney and also by Abrams. Also, the best character by William Kinney, the character must be lifelike or natural. The character lifelike means the character is not seen by the one side, but also in many sides. Sometimes we had a good habit, bad habit. That's why the characters call lifelike. But if the character is flat, we just see the character from one side. For example, the character is good from the beginning until the end of the story. And then Abram had different definitions about character. Character is people who appear in a narrative prose or novel, and it is interpreted by the reader as a person who has moral quality and certain tendencies such as being expressed in what they say and what they do. That's the differences. Okay, next. Okay, this is William Kinney's state of how the author present his character here. There are four methods. The first is discursive method, dramatic method, contextual method, and mixing method. Discursive methods is the author simply tells his characters, and then the dramatic methods is the author show his character by his attitude in the story. And then the contextual method is the verbal context that surrounds the characters. So mixing method is the mix of all the methods above. Okay, next. Okay, this is very my favorite theory from Lajos-Segri. Lajos-Segri state the three-dimensional character, the bone structure, making character three-dimensional. The first by physiology, sociology, and psychology. Next. Next. Okay, physiology is how the author will present his character through his physique. For example, sex, age, height and weight, color of hair, eyes, skin, posture, appearance, defects, and heredity. Next. Okay, and then sociology is the author want to present his character through his class in society, whether it's lower class, middle class, and upper class. And then coefficients like lecturer, like students, like a president, vice president, etc. And also the education like master degree, high school, etc. And home life is where he lives. And then religions like a Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, and etc. And then races, nationality like Asia, Indonesian, like Bob Nguyen may be American, Vietnam, Chinese, and then the place in community here, leader among friends, club sport, like maybe like leaders in the society, like in the president of the leader in the society, and then political affiliations, yes, the position in the politics, and then amusement or hobbies, a lot of hobbies here for us. Okay, next. Next. Okay, the psychology is the psychology is okay, no problem. The psychology is the author want to show the character through the psychology, the psychological aspect, like the check, moral, standard, personal promise, ambition, frustration, shape disappointment, temperament, attitude toward life, complex abilities, qualities, and IQ. Setting. Setting is everything that happens somewhere at some time. That element of fiction will reveal to us to where and when of the event we call setting. This is according to William Kinney. So setting can be divided into setting of time and also setting of place. However, Killy Griffith has different opinion of the setting. Killy Griffith said that setting can be divided into setting of time, setting of place, setting of social environment, and setting of atmosphere. Next, the function of setting. The function of setting can be divided into 7 according to William Kinney. Setting as metaphor. Setting as metaphor here is like the folk shop as metaphor for the spiritual and emotional state of principal characters. And then setting as atmosphere here is the air breathed by the reader as she or he entered the world of literary works. Setting as dominant element, of course, like a character, setting is very important in the story. And then time as dominant element, time may be great important even in work of fiction that are not intentionally historical. And then place as dominant element. Place as dominant elements mean spatial place or place dominate are generally classified as example of local color or regionalism. And next, setting in non-realistic fiction. Setting a place to fiction in a more or less realistic mode. Setting and the whole story, setting as the artistic whole and must be understood by the readers. Okay, next. Style and tone. Style is by William Kinney again. A writer's characteristic way of using language. It means the verbal texture of literature, the author's or writer's way of using language. Everything that the writer does with words, including his way of arranging words into such larger unit as sentence. It is in the sense that all writers have style. Next. Okay, 3 elements of style. 3 elements of style can be divided into dictions, imagery, and syntax. Diction is the order choice of word. Here, diction can be divided into denotations and connotations. And then imagery. Imagery is the corrections of image in the entire work or in any significant part of the work. The imagery can be divided into literal image, recurrent image, figurative image, and also a symbol. Syntax is the way in which the writer constructs the sentence. Here it reflects its writer's personal vision of life. It is again by William Kinney. Next. Next. Okay. Point of view. Point of view here is the perspective from which a story is narrated. Every story has a perspective, though there can be more than one type of point of view in a work of literature. The most common point of view used in novel are first person singular I and third person he and she. However, there are many variants in these 2 types of point of view. Okay, next. Okay, point of view based on person. Here is first person point of view. The first person is used when the main character is telling the story. Here, for example, the I, the narrator I. And then the second person point of view is generally only used in instructional writing. It is told from perspective of you. The third person point of view, the third person point of view is used when your narrator is not a character in a story. Third person use the he, she, it narrator, and it is the most commonly used point of view in writings. Next. Okay, omniscient narrator. Here, omniscient narrator is the narrator act like God. So, The author who chose to exploit his godlike knowledge of the fictional universe he has created with employ the omniscient narrator. The advantage of omniscience here is more natural of a narrative techniques. After all, the narrator, the author, is with regard to his work omniscient. The disadvantage of omniscient, although omniscient narrator is in one sense a particularly natural technique, it is another sense, and especially unnatural one. Here, for example, someone who believes in Krishna, this is natural. But someone who didn't believe in Krishna, it is just a story. That's the meaning of this statement. Next. Okay, theme. Theme here is not meaning of the theme. Theme is not obviously the meaning of the story, but also any experienced reader of fiction will realize that this is not a very informative definition. Theme here is the central idea of the story. Why theme is the central idea? Because theme related with other element of fiction, such as plot, character, moral, setting, point of view, and everything theme related. Next. Okay, here, function of theme as the ultimate unifying element in fiction. It is again by William Kinney. Theme and the moral of the story. Moral is one of the simple kind of themes, while not all themes are moral. It depends on the individual. Okay, next, theme and subject. The story as the illustration of some hidden meaning, which may be illustrated in any number of other ways because of the hidden meaning. So that is the relation between theme and subject is the first. Theme and character. Character is obviously of major importance, very important for the theme, because what the character do will become the theme or supporting theme. That's the relation between the plot and theme. Plot and theme here is, plot is what the character do and what happens to them. And then next, motivation and theme is why the character do what they do. That is the relation between motivation and theme. Setting and theme. The environment plays an important role in the lives of characters. That is the relation between setting and theme. Point of view and theme. The point of view from which the story is told can have great thematic importance. That is the relation between point of view and theme. Style and theme is the reflection of author's way of perceiving experience and organizing his perception. That's the relation between theme and style. And then tone and theme. Tone is the attitude of the author takes toward his materials and towards the audience are obviously crucial to theme. And then the last is values and theme. Values in theme, values mean our sense of good or bad, the desirable and undesirable. Here, the values here depends on our sense, whether it is a good value, whether it is a bad value, depends on the individual. Okay, next. One example, one very simple example, which I always told in front of my student here. Plot reveals in me before you, because here I am as a lecturer at Warmadewa University. Most of my students likes the literary works from America. Just now I said, for example, like Veronica Roth's, the series of Divergent, Sovergent, A4, and Insurgents. And also they like, most of them like John Green's, like Pepperton, The Fault in Our Star. So here I would like to present a very, very simple theory. Actually here you're always in our class like a very, very difficult theories, but here I would like to present my simple analyzing in fiction, just analyze plot in Moyo's Me Before You. Here, we use the theory of William Kinney. Actually, we can use a lot of theory in order to analyzing. We can use Gustav Fritek just now, we can use Warren and Welleck, we can use Killy Griffiths, but here I use William Kinney. First, the beginning. The beginning of the plot based on William Kinney's theory is consists of exposition. Exposition is the introduction of the characters and settings. Here, next. Okay, next. Okay, here the main character here, we can state Lois Clark and also William Turner. Here, there are two theories, a lot of theories of character, main character and supporting character. In order to analyze this case, so we use the primary character, secondary character, and complementary character. So here, according to me and also our students in Warmadewa University, the primary character is Lois Clark, not the William Turner. Lois Clark is a 26-year-old woman who is creative, talented, and funny, but underestimates herself and has few ambition. She also lost her job and the cafe she used to work, and her need to find a new job to help to solve her family problem. Her life begins to change when she became a caretaker of William Turner. As Lois Clark is a caretaker of William Turner. Here, the secondary character is William Turner. William Turner, a 35-year-old man who became quadriplegic after being hit by a motorbike. He's intelligent and wealthy, but his impairment has left him moody, angry, and bitter, unable to accept never being the active and adventurous man he once was. He wants to end his life by taking suicide in Switzerland. Okay, next. Okay, the middle. The middle of the plot, based on William Kinney's theory, is consists of conflict, complication, and climax. The conflict starts when Lois Clark starts to become into William Turner's life as his caretaker, and William Turner wants to end his life by committing suicide with the help of institution. The complication, Lois Clark does every single thing she can do to motivate William Turner so he can change his mind and continue his life. However, the end, let's see in the next slide. Okay, the climax when William Turner says he's not going to change his decision about ending his life, and he says to Lois Clark, she is the most wonderful thing that he had at his last time. This is very great climax. Actually, William Turner loved Lois Clark. Lois, however, he thought that it would make Lois Clark happy because William Turner already laying on the bed. He is very gentleman. Here, William Turner see that in front of love, beauty is nothing. Okay, next ending. Endings, William Turner take the suicide in Switzerland, and at the end of the film, he give a letter for Lois Clark that please pray for William Turner to make his heart feel, and because Lois Clark is very pure woman, so her prayer will help William Turner to be accepted by God. And then William Turner also give account of in the bank of Lois Clark, because Lois Clark is a little bit poor woman. Okay, that's all my explanations about one of the intrinsic elements. The first with Ibu Dr. Nur Hiqma about Middle East literary works and also woman voice becomes two extrinsic elements, as well as from Bob Nguyen. You inspired me, Bob Nguyen, because when I taught poetry in my class, I always use film My favorite film is Endless Love, and I told my students to watch the film, and after that we create poetry together in the class. However, you give example by giving the mosaic word and then choose the words, and after that try to make poem from that words. You inspired me. Also, thank you, and maybe we see in the next webinars. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Gusti Suarniti, for the great presentation about analyzing fiction through its element, especially intrinsic. Yeah, okay, so that was great. So for the next, it is question and answer session that will be led by Ibu Ella. Thank you for the time, and time is yours, Ibu Ella.
Thank you, Ibu Sylvia. Thank you very much for all presenters for your informative and interesting talk. Very well, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to question and answer sessions. We have collected your question and have distributed them to the presenters. And I think Bob has answered some of the question in Q&A box. But Bob, you might say something here in this room, like concluding your answers or something.
Yeah, I can just go over. Yeah, sorry, I was just like busy typing during the presentations, but still able to listen. But I just wanted to make sure that any of our guests, had a question they wanted to answer. Let's see. Something Ina talked about was the transition right now between blended hybrid way of teaching learning. And I think, yeah, I think part of the beauty of classes like using Canvas, Google Classrooms is doing more asynchronous learning, giving students materials so that, they can kind of catch up and learn. And somebody else asked about, internet issues is a big problem. So, for me, the idea of the flipped classroom where students, they learn the materials on their own. You send out PDFs, websites, videos, things like that, can kind of give maybe students that don't have access to strong internet the ability to still know what's going on in the class, be prepared for the class, and then use the online class, the synchronous learning in the Zoom, in Google Meets, and Microsoft Teams. That's the opportunity for students to practice those skills. So I think a lot of somebody else also mentioned that their student engagement is going down. Students aren't showing up, having to talk to parents, and I think part of this is we have to be, our students are stuck in their houses 24/7, maybe every day of the week, and I think trying to make classrooms enjoyable, just really digging into just how can we make language learning a joyful experience. Somebody mentioned that word, which I think is a beautiful word to use. How do we make our classrooms just fun? And I think a lot of it is we have to practice. How do we use Zoom in the breakout rooms? How do we create using Padlet, Google Docs, Google Slides? How can we share and create like interactive student moments where, I would say that most of our students are probably more tech savvy. They want to kind of engage. They play games on their phones. They play games on their phones with other people they don't know. And so I think the way that I imagine myself now is that when I'm teaching Zoom, I'm playing like League of Legends, one of these very intense video games that all your students play. Okay. All your students know this game. And so I'm watching my screen, I'm watching my second, I'm making sure my audio's on, I'm, chatting in the chat box, and I'm talking over a presentation. So, um, that's the kind of skills that I think students have, and I think a lot of us as teachers lack. And so I think pushing them to kind of figure out these things is fun. It's interesting. And one of the things that, when I'm training teachers now is that to train them to use these activities. So everybody use Padlet today. If that was your first time, great. If it wasn't, then even better because you already know it. But always using the things that my students will learn. So my students will all be English language teachers in the future. And so every activity I design for my classroom is something I hope that in the future, when they're English language teachers, they'll be able to use to teach their students, right? So we use Loom. I didn't show that one, but using Loom is like a screen recording tool, which allows you to record your desktop. There's an app for it on iPhones, and the other, Androids also have a screen recording tool. But I have my students like talk, while they're doing their presentation, kind of as a way to practice, the skills. But in the future, they have to do these, they have to do tutorials like, hey guys, what's up? I'm going to show you how to use, how to use Canvas today. So if you can do that as a student, then you'll be able to do that as a teacher, and then you'll be able to teach using these tools. But I think if you're not engaging yourself in these new kind of things that are available on your phones, I mean, I think, when I think about, somebody asked about accessibility, and whenever I make a lesson, I try to think about, can my students with smartphones only make this, do this activity? Does it require just a computer? No, so Google Docs, Google Slides, all of these, students can open these on their phones. Padlet lets you just open it from your phone. And so when you design your activities, think about, what the lowest common denominator is. And, I'm also very aware that some students will really struggle just because of location, where
Yeah,
they're
true.
from. Right. And my students, yeah, I mean, on that map of Turkey, look at the east. My students kind of on the eastern side have a lot less access to technology. And, those are the students that I'm very aware of, that I always try to give them more time to turn in the activities. I'm always asking them on Google, on Microsoft Teams, like, how are you doing? And because I know my students and where they're from, it really helps me to focus, who needs the help. I think some of our brighter students like to ask many questions, and they like to steal teachers' time. Not, I don't ignore them, but I try to focus less on them and focus on the student quiet. So if you don't hear from students, do a little check-in. Something that I learned from the Cult of Pedagogy. It's Jennifer Gonzalez. She does a great podcast, and she has an episode about genuine connections, genuine moments of connection. So if you use Zoom, I think one of the cool things you can do, if you have the waiting room, don't let all the students in. Choose the student that you want to talk to, maybe just for a minute or two. Let them come to the classroom first, and then maybe choose one student every class period. You have the waiting room. You only allow one student in, and you just say, "Hey, how's it going?" You can use breakout rooms in that same way. Just send one student to the breakout room. It's almost like time out.
Good idea.
Or like, hey, let's go outside. So make a breakout room only and put that student in there. Go into that breakout room. Just have a little, one-on-one, then come back to the class. And so my idea is that like we have to make a simulation of the real world using technology. So how can we create the same things, right? How do we take our student outside breakout rooms? How do we get them to sign into something? Google Forms or something. How do we create worksheets? So you have to think about what you normally did and just try to turn it into a digital representation. I don't know. It's the most exciting thing that I've. Online education is exciting to me, so I love it. And not everybody agrees with me. So if you are out there struggling, everybody teaching right now, it's your first year teaching. And I tell my students that, remember that all of your teachers it's their first year, and it's your first year as a student, no matter what grade level you are. Thank you.
Okay,
Uh,
Bob.
my last name is
Oh,
pronounced
sure.
Nguyen. but you can just say
Nguyen.
when. Yeah. So
When.
Vietnamese is a monosyllabic language. So as long as it's not Nguyen, I'm fine. But you know, it's a
Nguyen.
difficult word.
Is that
When. Yeah.
Nguyen? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And
Nguyen.
that's
Yeah.
yeah. But thank you for asking. I think names are important.
Yeah. Nguyen. Okay. Thank you. Well, building good communication is very important to the students. Yeah. Even though we are separated by the distance, but we need to know the need of our students so they can feel that they are close to each other, even to us as the teachers, right? Okay. Thank you. And we're going to the next presenters. Some questions have been prepared for Ibu Hiqma. Ibu Hiqma, are you there, Ibu Hiqma? Yes, you're there. There's a question here. How do we know that voices either feminine or masculine in the literary works?
Okay, thank you for the participant who just raised the question. It is from Uyul Henley, Sabran.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I got the question, how do we know that the voice is either feminine or masculine in the literary works? Okay, actually it is the interesting question, since that in the last topic of my dissertation, I use the narratology theory, and it is very interesting to apply this theory, especially when you are going to know or to take the deep observations about whether it belongs to the feminine or masculine voices. So you may use the vocalizator, vocalization, and also the narrator. So through this concept, actually, it is proposed by Gerard Jennett with the theory narrative discourse. So it will be very useful for you as the student or as the researcher to use this concept, because actually it is very work when you apply or search in the novel using this concept or theory. Actually, it's quite complicated. Why? Because actually when we are trying to use this theory, we are going to search, so which one is dominant, feminine or masculine. We are going to find out not the, what we call it as the things that we can see when we read the novel, but actually what is inside or behind. So for me, it's a little bit need a time to analyze about which one is really dominant in the novel, especially when we know that the author is not belong to the woman authors, but actually the men. Just like when I try to compare in my big project in my dissertation, so I try to compare between the voice of Khaled Hosseini and Latifa with the novel A Thousand Splendid Suns and My Forbidden Face. So I just try to take really a deep observation to know more and more whose voice is really dominant. And as what we call it as the biggest part of my research, I can find whether between the two authors here, Khaled Hosseini and also Latifa, actually the dominant voice represent the voice of women from the Afghan women is from Latifa. It's not from Khaled Hosseini. But actually in the beginning, I just tried to see, and I just think that perhaps because I am a book lover of Khaled Hosseini, I thought that the voice is really from Hosseini. But actually, in fact, when I try to take the deep analysis and also the deep reading again and again, I just come to the conclusion that the real voice to speak out the Afghan women repression, discrimination is from Latifa. And then, Bu Ella, I'm going to answer from the second question from another participant here. I guess that she's going to conduct a research in the online method. As we know that most in 11 months and almost 1 year, I guess, we just did all the activities, especially the academic activities in online. And it is also influenced when there are some student or even the researcher are going to do the research by online. So I'm going to answer based on this question, how to do a research onlinely because of this COVID-19. Many offline research are suspended or pending. Okay, actually, I'm not really an expert in doing the quantitative research because actually my main research is based on qualitative research. According to me and also according to my experience, when you are trying to conduct a research in qualitative method, so it's quite easy for you to do it. Why? Because actually we will not contact with other people. We only focus in doing the library research. You are going to do the deep reading with your corpus of research, and then you are going to read many articles in journal, especially you are trying to find out the novelty. And if you are really diligent to do your research, so I guess that you can complete your thesis, your dissertation on time. Okay, I do really hope that my answer can help you. And then another one, still I have one more question. It is from Eka Fajar Rahmani. Okay, it is the question like this. So what is the topic for the student of ELT related with the literary studies? So when I teach my student at Faculty of Education, so I just give the suggestion for the student whether if they want to take the research related with the literary studies. So you may take the example for one simple novel, because actually they are going to practice at school. It can be from junior high school or senior high school. Just take the simple novel with the interesting topic. In one of my research related with this material, when I conduct the research at junior high school, I try to take 3 interesting topic, but not with the thick pages, but it's quite simple with the title Hiqma Briefing, and also another one. I just put 3 titles, and then I ask the student to read, to take what is the theme, what is the topic, and then what is the extrinsic and intrinsic aspect in the novel. Because actually at the end of the research, I do really hope that the student will gain more and more about the vocabularies. Why? Because actually, as we know that most the Indonesian students are really lazy to read, especially the novel in English. That's why I push them to read the interesting novel, but it's not to take, so they gain more knowledge. So I do really hope that by answering this question will help Eka Fajar Rahmani. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu. Thank you, Ibu, for the great presentation.
Okay.
Great answers, I mean. And we're waiting for questions for Ibu Ayu. Anyone here wants to give some questions or for Ibu Ayu? Okay, so if we don't have any, well, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't have any, finally I think we come to the end of our presentation. Again, we would like to say thank you for Nguyen, Ibu Hiqma and Ibu Ayu for your informative and interesting talk, and to the audiences for your active participation. But before we end our webinar, I might need a closing statement from each of you, Ibu Hiqma, Nguyen, and Ibu Ayu. We can start from Nguyen first for giving us a closing statement, please.
So yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to talk today at this wonderful webinar filled with many talented speakers and moderators and everybody who's helped design. I'm fortunate to have met Daniel Ginting in Chicago, and he keeps asking me to do things for him. And so here I am. My biggest thing would be that, yes, digital online learning creates communities, and it's very evident today in the community that I've been, invited to talk to. And so if we can teach ourselves how to use online tools to keep in touch with our professional learning networks, and also do the same for our students, being able to connect to our students in an online community, because I think after, whenever this pandemic thing finishes, we're still going to be using these tools and probably using them much more to make face-to-face classes more effective. I was using Google Classroom before the pandemic, and it helped my students transition into this online teaching. And I think that we can use all of these tools that we have to better teach our students in every single way. And so thank you very much for this opportunity. And I would love to come back and help and maybe do something in a
Thank
smaller
you.
workshop way, something smaller. Webinars are fine. They're fun, but I would like to kind of figure out ways to maybe use the position that I have. Which I think that's the most important thing about online communities is how easy it is to cube our learning, right? You learn something today, you go off and you teach others about what you learned, in a way that promotes students' growth and learning, So thank you so much, and I really appreciate.
Thank you. Thank you, Nguyen. Yeah, welcome to Ibu Hiqma. Please give a closing statement for us.
Thank you, Bu Ella. Okay, so I'm really honored and glad to share and present what I have done in my research, especially about women. And actually, I tried to take a deep concerns about the women repressions and how they just need our help. As we know that for being the scholars, there are three things that we need to do. Just like as we know that we have three people doing teaching activities, but we also need to do the research and then make some publication. So by doing that, for the scholars, we are going to continuously doing some beneficial through writing, especially the articles and the publication more often, because actually it is not only related with our obligation, but actually this is the special action that we need to do continuously. And then for the student, for the colleges who are still fighting to complete their final project, their thesis, and also their dissertation. So keep up the good work, because there is no perfect thesis and dissertation if you do not finish completely. So the best dissertation is if you can take the responsibility and you take the self-defense in front of the examiners, your supervisor. So at that time you are going to smile when you just remember that all the hardest thing is completely finished. And then related with the woman voices, I'm not going to say that I'm a part of the feminist, But actually, as we know that for every woman struggling and every woman suffering, we need to support. Not only it is because of the humanity, but actually it is our obligation as human beings. So please read more books, gain more understanding, because actually we can get more knowledge that we never predict, we never think before. And at the end of my closing statement, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Daniel Ginting as the Vice President of IELA, and also the board committee of IELA. I'm very glad to be a part of the second international webinar. We do really hope that we can meet in another webinar, in another conference, or in another trainings. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ibu Hiqma. Now we come to the last presenters for giving us the closing statement. Ibu Ayu, please.
Okay, so here a little bit my topic is analyzing fiction through intrinsic aspect. Here plot, actually a lot of problem can be analyzed. The plot is very basic. The first step in analyzing fiction. Without plot, we cannot analyzing other intrinsic aspect of fiction. From the plot, we continue to the character and the characterization, and after that, we continue to the setting, the point of view, and after that, the values, the theme, and etc. The plot is the first step, the basic step in analyzing fiction. Actually, a lot of problem can be analyzed in the story, such as the novel, and the story, and also in other fiction. Here, my analysis is on the Western fiction. I appreciate the Indonesian fiction. However, because here I am in English department, so we have to choose the English novel or the English literary works. And it depends on also the interest of the students. My student interest in the English novel, such as in the Virgin, Insurgent, F4, and also the John Green, their favorite novels, The Fall in Our Star, and also like Pepper Town, as well as other novels from the Western. However, here I do my appreciate because from this webinar, I also learn the literary work from the Middle East, like just now from Ibu Dr. Nur Hiqma, the Middle East novel about the woman, how the woman in the Afghanistan here. So this webinar will enrich my knowledge. So I love this webinar, and I hope to join this webinar again. And my great thankful to Mr. Daniel Ginting as a head of IELA, also Mr. Bob Nguyen. You show me how to practice in teachings. It's inspiring me a lot, especially in the poetry. And then also from Bu Dr. Nur Hiqma, your Middle East literary works in Afghanistan, maybe Pakistan, maybe. This is very interesting. So for the all panelists, for the all moderators, all the participants, I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you, Ibu Ayu. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully the presentations given by our great presenters will be beneficial for everyone. Okay, and we're going to have another international webinar, so hopefully you can join us again. And of course, before we end this webinar, I would like to ask you all to have a photo session together. Wait, maybe one of our committee could set the Zoom. And also about the certificate, after you have filled out the registration form, you can get the certificate by your email, and make sure you check your spam email as well. So usually it goes to the spam email, yeah. Okay, are we ready for the photo session? Ibu Sylvie? Ibu Sylvie?
Yes, Ibu.
Yeah, are you ready for the photo session for all presenters and participants here?
Okay, so if we want all participants here, we need to add all panelists. So it needs more time for us to add the panelists. Because of the participant, there are 300
something.
Yeah, so it's
okay.
quite.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, question. Is there no more link for certificate? No, we're going to give you by email later on. Within groups maybe. Okay, that's all I guess. Thank you very much again for Bob, Nguyen, Ibu Hiqma. Yes?
Perhaps we can hold a photo session for this attendees or just all committees. Just what have been what have been seen in the screen.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Then I will say thank you for the attendees. You may leave the groups. So sorry for, that we cannot take a photo sessions with you all because of there are so many attendees, around 300. I don't think it's enough, yeah. But for here, there are how many? 12. Ibu Deli, Pak Beni, Ibu Husnul, Ibu Ainu, and Bapak Daniel and Pak Nur Hendi. Would you please turn on your camera so we can get a photo session here?
Ella belum bisa ya. Masih cannot start video, masih di ban kayaknya.
Well, I think I'm gonna need Ibu
Ainu,
Ibu Sylvia, Ibu Ainu.
Yes.
I do nothing about
I show the screen. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
3.
Give a smile.
Get ready, Bob.
3, 2, 1. Well done.
One more.
It's
Done. Okay. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bapak, Ibu.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
See you again in the
Next
webinar.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
That was great.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Bob.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. It was
Yeah.
fun. And now it's time for dinner. So it's like 8:20 p.m. So thank you.
8:20 p.m.
And then I got cold, so I had to put on my jacket because I was, thank you. That was great.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, we'll collaborate in the future. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much, Bob.
Bu Raisu,
Ya.
would you mind to send me your PPT?
Oke.
Jangan tutup dulu
Thank
ya.
you, Bu Raisu.
Oke, thank you. See you, Ibu. I left dulu, saya send ya ini ya. Saya send ke Ibu ya.
Bu Ainul.
Siap.
Bu
Oke,
Ainul.
Pak Fahmi. Iya, Pak Fahmi.
Mungkin ada pengumuman buat apa webinar yang akan datang atau yang lainnya.
Oh iya. Webinar dengan Pak Gumawang ya, Pak ya?
Yeah.
Monggo Pak Fahmi.
Okay. For all participants, maybe we have the next webinar with Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta Rector Gumawang Jati and as the president of ITEL. And so don't miss it and don't forget to click the link of the certificates and the certificate will be automatically sent in your email and make sure that you check the spam in your email to ensure that the certificate has been delivered. Okay, thank you very much for your participation for all the members of IELA and also the all participants here. And thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.